the sages, headed by Sanaka Rishi, saw that the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu, who was formerly visible only within their hearts in ecstatic trance, the sages, headed by Sanaka, actually become visible to their eyes. As he came forward, accompanied by his own associates bearing all paraphernalia, such as an umbrella and a chamara fan, the white bunches of their hair moved very gently like two swans, and due to their favorable breeze, the pearls garlanding the umbrella also moved, like drops of nectar flowing from the white full moon or ice melting due to a gust of wind. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. In this verse, we find the word Achaksataksha Vishayam. The Supreme Lord cannot be seen by ordinary eyes, but he now became visible to the eyesight of the Kumaras. Another significant word is Samadhi Bhagyam. Meditators who are very fortunate can see the Vishnu form of the Lord within their hearts by following the yogic process. But to see him face to face is a different matter. This is only possible for pure devotees. The Kumaras, therefore, upon seeing the Lord coming forward with his associates, who were holding an umbrella and a chamara fan, were struck with wonder that they were seeing the Lord face to face. It is said in the Brahma Samhita that devotees, being elevated in love of God, always see Shyama Sundara, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, within their hearts. But when they are mature, the same God is visible before them face to face. For ordinary persons, the Lord is not visible. However, when one can understand the significance of his holy name, and one engages himself in the devotional service of the Lord, beginning with the tongue, by chanting and tasting prasada, then gradually the Lord reveals himself. Thus, the devotee constantly sees the Lord in his body, and in a more mature stage, you can see the same Lord directly as we see everything else. So the sages, headed by Sanatana Rishi, saw the Supreme Personality, Godhead Vishnu, who was formerly visible only within their hearts in ecstatic trance, had now actually become visible to their eyes. As he came forward, accompanied by his own associates, bearing all paraphernalia, such as an umbrella and a chamara fan, the white bunches of hair moved very gently, like two swans. Due to their favorable breeze, the pearls garlanding the umbrella also moved, like drops of nectar falling from the white full moon or ice melting due to a gust of wind. Well, you can just imagine how wonderful this revelation is. Actually, Krishna consciousness is revelation theology. The Lord reveals himself to the devotee as the devotee surrenders completely to the Lord. So there's no other way of seeing the Lord. But when we completely surrender ourselves to serving the Lord, when he sees the really sincere dedication that we may have with no other, let's say, preoccupation than to meditate on and please the Lord by devotional service, then he gradually becomes visible. And that's why it says, the sages headed by Sanaka Rishi saw that the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu, who was formerly visible only within their hearts in ecstatic trance had now actually become visible to their eyes as he came forward, accompanied by his own associates bearing all paraphernalia, such as an umbrella and a chamra fan. The white bunches of hair moved very gently like two swans, and due to their favorable breeze, the pearls garlanding the umbrella also moved like drops of nectar falling from the white full moon or ice melting due to a gust of wind. So you see, it's a very supernatural, transcendental vision that the Maharaj were having of the Supreme Personality Godhead of Vishnu. And previously they were seeing the Lord in their heart. Now they're actually seeing them in front of them. And it says, had now actually become visible to their eyes as he came forward, accompanied by his own associates bearing all paraphernalia, such as an umbrella and a chamber fan. Well, this is absolutely transcendental vision of the Supreme Personality. In this verse, we find the word Achaksa Vishayam. The Supreme Lord cannot be seen by ordinary eyes, but he now became visible to the eyesight of the Kumaras. Another significant word is Samadhi Bhagyam. Meditators who are very fortunate can see the Vishnu form of the Lord within their hearts by following the yogic process. But to see him face to face is a different matter. This is only possible for pure devotees. The Kumaras, therefore, upon seeing the Lord coming forward with his associates who were holding an umbrella and a chamra fan, were struck with wonder that they were seeing the Lord face to face. It is said in the Brahma Samhita that devotees, being elevated in love of God, always see Shyam Sundara, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, within their hearts. But when they are mature, the same God is visible before them face to face. For ordinary persons, the Lord is not visible. However, when one can understand the significance of his holy name, and one engages himself in the devotional service of the Lord, beginning with the tongue by chanting and tasting prasada, and gradually the Lord reveals himself. Thus, the devotee constantly sees the Lord within his heart, and in a more mature stage, one can see the same Lord directly as we see everything else. This is called revelation theology, where the Lord, due to the complete surrender of the devotee and the complete surrender to engaging in devotional service for the Lord, pleasing the Lord by the service can manifest himself, and so the devotee can see him face to face. This is the potential that we have if we become really serious about Krishna consciousness. And you can see that the Kumaras, they got this, what's called face-to-face darshan of the Lord. And it says here, this is only possible for pure devotees. The Kumaras, therefore, upon seeing the Lord coming forward with his associates, you not only see Krishna, but you see his associates also, who were holding an umbrella and a chamra fan, were struck with wonder that they were seeing the Lord face to face. Ramanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena Santap Sudeva Hidaya Suvilokvanti Samsung Varan Achinta Guna Swarupam Govindam Adi Purusham the verse being referred to, that one can actually see the Lord face to face in a Shyam Sundar form, which is the form that we should meditate on. And that before it says, it is said in the Brahma Samhita that devotees being elevated in love of God always see Shama Sundara, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, within their heart. But when they are mature, the same God is visible before them face to face. For ordinary persons, the Lord is not visible. However, when one can understand the significance of his holy name, let's see, how can you understand the significance of the holy name? Well, one way is always chanting the holy name. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
And the second way is hearing the glorification of the holy name. And the third way is going on Harinam Sankirtan and chanting the holy name in public, loudly chanting so everyone can hear it. And every way, like when you get a phone call, instead of saying hello, you can say Hare Krishna. That's what I do. People call, say Hare Krishna, and sometimes they say they don't know what to say. But over time, the same person calls on a regular basis. They also say Hare Krishna gradually, right? So we should always give people a chance to hear the name of Krishna and to maybe help them repeat it, but not forcing them. They'll do it gradually, they'll do it naturally because they think, oh, well, this is the way these people say hello, so I'll say that too, Hare Krishna. Okay. So it says here that that meditators who are very fortunate can see the Vishnu form of the Lord within their hearts by following the yogic process. But to see him face to face is a different matter. This is only possible for pure devotees. The Kumaras, therefore, upon seeing the Lord coming forward with his associates, you never see Krishna alone. He's going to always be with his associates, who were holding an umbrella and a chamra fan, were struck with wonder when they were seeing the Lord face to face. Well, this is a potential that we have if we get serious about Krishna consciousness. We can see the Lord face to face. Well, we can see the Lord face to face every day. We go to the temple. There's darshan, and you bow down, so you can see the Lord face to face. That's why we have. That's why Krishna appears in the deity form to help us to understand him and to see him and to offer service to him. The deity is there waiting for the devotees to offer service. And then the deity blesses the devotees. And eventually, of course, you cannot cheat on this, but eventually you can talk with the Lord, and the Lord will answer you. And so we have the history of the Brahmana boy who helped this older gentleman go to Vrindavan and see the deity Krishna. And then he brought, and this elderly gentleman accompanied him. And so when the boy and the elderly gentleman returned, there was some controversy, and that was eventually, the controversy was eventually resolved by the boy going back and bringing the deity to where the sons of the older man could see that the boy was not a cheater in any way, and the father who wanted the boy to marry one of his daughters was qualified to do that. So the deity actually walked a long way, following the boy as long as he promised not to look back, and came very close to where the family was to prove that he had actually seen that he and the old father had actually been seen the deity, and now the deity came all the way back with this boy to prove that the boy was not a charlatan and worthy to marry the daughter of this older man. The sons objected, but now they couldn't object anymore. So the boy was not, he was not so anxious to marry the girl, but to maintain the truth of the father who promised that the boy could marry his daughter, and in this way, not let's say make him a liar. Let's say the boy went back, asked the deity to follow him, and Krishna followed him. And eventually the sons, who were very, very skeptical and mean, couldn't say anything. And then the boy was able to marry this girl. Now, he was not so anxious to marry a girl, but he didn't want to see the old man who promised him break his promise. Once you make a promise in front of the deity and you break it, that's a really bad, very, very bad thing to do. You get a lot of bad karma by doing that. Okay, so text 39. The Lord is the reservoir of all pleasure. His auspicious presence is meant for everyone's benediction. And his affectionate smiling and glancing touch the core of the heart. The Lord's beautiful bodily color is blackish, and his broad chest is the resting place of the goddess of fortune, who glorifies the entire spiritual world, the summit of all heavenly planets. Thus, it appeared that the Lord was personally spreading the beauty and good fortune of the spiritual world. Purported by Srila Prabhupada. When the Lord came, he was pleased with everyone. Therefore, it is stated here, Krishna Prasada Sanmukham. The Lord knew that even the offensive dormant were his pure devotees, although by chance they committed an offense at the feet of other devotees. To commit an offense against a devotee is very dangerous in devotional service. Lord Chaitanya therefore said that an offense to a devotee is just like a mad elephant run loose. When a mad elephant enters a garden, it tramples all the plants. Similarly, an offense unto the feet of a pure devotee murders one's position in devotion. On the part of the Lord, there was no offended mood because he does not accept any offense created by a sincere devotee. But a devotee should be very cautious of committing offenses at the feet of another devotee. The Lord, being equal to all and being especially inclined to his devotee, looked as mercifully at the offenders as at the offended. This attitude of the Lord was due to his unlimited quality of transcendental qualities. I'm sorry, his unlimited quantity of transcendental qualities. His cheerful attitude towards the devotees was so pleasing and heart touching that his very smile was attractive for them. The attraction was glorious not only for all the higher planets of the material world, but beyond, for the spiritual world also. Generally, a human being has no idea of what the constitutional position is in the higher material planets, which are far beyond constituted in regard to all paraphernalia. Yet the Vaikuntha planet is so pleasing and so celestial that it is compared to the middle jewel or locket in a necklace of jewels. In this verse, the words Srihanya Dham indicate that the Lord is the reservoir of all pleasure because he has all the transcendental qualities. Although only some of these are aspired for by persons who hanker after the pleasure of merging in the impersonal Brahman, there are other aspirants who want to associate with the Lord personally as his servants. The Lord is so kind that he gives shelter to everyone, both impersonalists and devotees. He gives shelter to the impersonalists in his impersonal Brahman effulgence, whereas he gives shelter to the devotees in his personal abodes known as the Vaikuntha Lokas. He is especially inclined to his devotee. He touches the core of the heart of the devotee simply by smiling and glancing over him. The Lord is always served in the Vaikuntha Loka by many hundreds and thousands of goddesses of fortune, as stated by the Brahma Samhita, Lakshmi Sahasra Satasam Brahma Sevimanam. In this material world, one is glorified if he is favored even a pinch by the goddess of fortune. So we can simply imagine how glorified is the kingdom of God in the spiritual world, where many hundreds and thousands of goddesses of fortune engage in the direct service of the Lord. Another feature of this verse is that it openly declares where the Vaikuntha Lokas are situated. They are situated as the summit of all the heavenly planets, which are above the sun globe at the upper limit of the universe and are known as Satyaloka or Brahmaloka. The spiritual world is situated beyond the universe. Therefore, it is stated here that the spiritual world, Vaikuntha Loka, is the summit of all planetary systems. You love Prabhupada.
Yeah.
Well, that's a really nice report. There's a lot of information there. And there's a description of the form of the Lord, the color of the Lord, and the abode of the Lord, and also how merciful the Lord is. The Lord knew that even the offensive doormen were his pure devotees, although by chance they committed an offense at the feet of other devotees. Now that's a very significant statement because some people purposely commit offenses. The Kumaras, they didn't, the two devotees that were guarding the entrance to Vaikuntha did not purposely offend the Kumaras. It was accidental. I mean, they didn't really know who they were, and they didn't let them enter right away to the Vaikuntha planets. So it says here, the Lord knew that even the offensive doormen were his pure devotees, although by chance they committed an offense at the feet of other devotees. To commit an offense against a devotee is very dangerous in devotional service. Let me read that again. To commit an offense against a devotee is very dangerous in devotional service. Lord Chaitanya therefore said that an offense to a devotee is just like a mad elephant run loose. When a mad elephant enters a garden, it tramples all the plants. Similarly, an offense unto the feet of a pure devotee murders one's position in devotional service. In other words, you lose your whole, let's say, footing in spiritual life. Murders, when an offense at the feet of a pure devotee murders one's position in devotional service. In other words, you're knocked out from devotional service. On the part of the Lord, there was no offended mood because he does not accept any offense created by his sincere devotee. But a devotee should be very cautious of committing offenses at the feet of another devotee. Well, there it is. Krishna he's not touched by the offense of anyone because he's completely transcendental. But he doesn't accept someone who offends a devotee. But a devotee should be very cautious of committing offenses at the feet of another devotee. The Lord, being equal to all and being especially inclined to his devotee, looked as mercifully at the offenders as at the offended. This attitude of the Lord was due to his unlimited quantity of transcendental qualities. His cheerful attitude towards the devotees was so pleasing and heart-touching that his very smile was attractive for them. That attraction was glorious not only for all the higher planets of this material world, but beyond, for the spiritual world also. Generally, a human being has no idea of what the constitutional position is in the higher material planets, which are far better constituted in regard to all paraphernalia. Yet, the Vaikuntha planet is so pleasing and so celestial that it is compared to the middle jewel or locket in a necklace of jewels. So what's being said is that the devotee should be very cautious of committing offenses at the feet of another devotee. And sometimes you see devotees get into arguments, and that's very dangerous. We should, that's why it's saying here, but a devotee should be very cautious of committing offenses at the feet of another devotee. So, the Lord being equal to all and being especially inclined to his devotee, looked as mercifully at the offenders as at the offended. Yes, but it's best not to become an offender. Why? Because one can basically be very severely, let's say, punished for that. Although the Lord, it says that the attitude of the Lord was due to his unlimited quantity of transcendental qualities. Yeah, he doesn't. Before that, it says, on the part of the Lord, there was no offended mood, because he does not accept any offense created by a sincere devotee. Okay. So the best thing is not to commit any offenses, and especially not to offend the devotee, and of course not to offend the Lord himself. And the way to do that is to be very humble and meek, and just be engaged in devotional service and be happy with whatever service you have, and don't leave that service. You have to hold on to that service, because that is defining who we are. So it can be deity service, it can be Sankirtan service, it can be temple service. You know, whatever service we get, that's a blessing of the Lord. And we should hold on to it as much as possible and do it with all our, you know, attention. Because that will define who we are in relationship to Krishna.
So, Maharaj, just a clarification. Hold on to the service.
Yeah.
Is it,
Don't give it up.
I know, there is not giving up and not also allowing others to do it. There is a balance. So can you clarify that?
See, there's an infinite opportunities of serving the Lord, not just one way. And so it's not that you stop someone from doing a service, or you hold on to a service and you don't let anybody else do it. It's if there's not one service that you can do, you're going to find another service. There's plenty of ways of serving the Lord. So if you can't, for some reason or other, serve the deity directly, well, you can serve the deity by other means, such as going on Sankirtan and preaching, distributing books, distributing prasadam. All these things are service for the Lord. So we should never, have this feeling, oh, I'm not getting opportunity to serve the deity. No, Krishna is in our heart. He sees everything we're doing. So if we just are humble and do whatever service is given to us, and not be a complainer, rather just be a server, and not be so anxious to want this or that, to accept whatever Krishna gives us and be satisfied with it, then little by little you see that Krishna is in the heart. He knows what you're what you want with a pure, in a pure way, and then he gives, and then he'll enable you to get that type of service that you want to get, but not in a let's say adamant way. It has to be surrender, and surrender means you're willing to do whatever service is given to you, and eventually everything gets settled over time. And you have to have that confidence. That's why it says, but a devotee should be very cautious of committing offenses at the feet of another devotee. The Lord, being equal to all and being especially inclined to his devotee, looked as mercifully at the offenders as at the offended. This attitude of the Lord was due to his unlimited quantity of transcendental qualities. So the devotees that understand what I just read, they don't get upset when there seems to be some, let's call it injustice, or it seems to be they're not getting the service that they want, etc. All that is unnecessary, because Krishna is the Supreme Personified Godhead. You just have to be patient and continue your service, and all things will be attained by the mercy of the Lord, because he's watching what we're doing, and he knows how the let's say the intensity of our desire to serve is. So you cannot force yourself into a position, but you can attain a position by complete surrender and unmotivated service. So that's the way to advance in Krishna consciousness, with complete surrender and unmotivated service. In other words, whatever service you're given, you do it and you hold on to it. And eventually you'll see that all your inner desires for service will be satisfied also, or attained. Okay, so
One question.
yeah,
So Maharaj, in case, as you have explained about the devotees, like entering into argument is very dangerous.
yeah.
So if we get into such um, argument for like unconsciously or due to any reason, so how to handle that situation? Just walk out or like
Well, it depends what you're arguing about. But the best thing is not to get into an argument at all. Walking away is a good way to stop it. You give your thunderbots to someone, and just walk away. Most arguments are due to lust, anger, and greed. If somebody's not affected by lust, anger, and greed, they don't have anything to argue about. So it's only when someone has lust, anger, and greed that they get into arguments very easily. So we should be careful not to commit any offenses. Then someone might get upset. And if you do, then you should, ask forgiveness. And, and if someone is a real devotee, they accept that. And, but anytime you get into an argument, it's like very dangerous because you can lose control in your mind and do things that later on you're going to regret. So why do something that later on you're going to regret? Better not to do it. And every situation can be settled over time. You might get into a big argument with someone, right? And then all of a sudden, over time, everything gets settled. So every problem is settled over time. So you just have to be patient, that's all. You can't try and force things. And the way to tolerate that is just be focused on your service and don't let anything stop you from doing your service, whatever service you have. You just keep doing it and be patient, and you'll see all the problems go away eventually. Why? Because Krishna is the controller of everything. And he's in our heart and in the heart of everyone. And over time, any offensive behavior will be remedied, either by, but we should not become the person who corrects everyone. Right? When you see something that's not right, you talk to the temple president or some official that's, a devotee, more advanced devotee. Let them take care of correcting the person that's misbehaving. If you get involved, first of all, you'll just get into an argument. So let the temple president or the sannyasi or someone, deal with what you think is an offensive devotee. Right? Otherwise, you're going to get into an argument and you might commit an offense. So more advanced devotees may have the equilibrium of the mind to be able to convince another devotee who's misbehaving to stop. Or they also have the ability to punish them. And when I say punish, actually, Prabhupada said in Krishna consciousness, there's no punishment, there's only reward. And in Krishna consciousness, we don't kick anyone down, we kick them up. So, yeah, it's like when some devotees try to take over the movement, they actually put Prabhupada in a room and lock the door. But Prabhupada, was not, it was not a nice thing to do. Prabhupada was very upset. But his solution was he gave one or two of those devotees, at least two of those devotees, sannyas, and told them, now you go out and preach in the world. So that's why there's never any real punishment, it's only reward in Krishna consciousness. The punishment is now you go and preach, and now you're a sannyasi, you go out and preach to everyone. So, of course, there are some really nasty people who want to destroy Krishna consciousness. So those type of people you have to avoid. Okay, so in this purport, if there's anything else I want to talk about here. It says, the Lord is so kind that he gives shelter to everyone, both impersonalists and devotees. He gives shelter to the impersonalists in his impersonal Brahman effulgence, whereas he gives shelter to the devotees in his personal abodes, known as the Vaikuntha Lokas. He is especially inclined to his devotee. He touches the core of the heart of the devotee simply by smiling and glancing over him. The Lord is always served in the Vaikuntha Loka by many hundreds and thousands of goddesses of fortune, as stated by the Brahma Sutta, Lakshmi Sahasra Satasamgam Savimah. Well, the Lord is so kind that he gives shelter to everyone, both impersonalists and devotees. Yeah, because everyone is an expansion of the Lord. So we're all the children of the Lord in a sense. So he tries to engage everyone, in goodwill. There's never any rancor or anger. Because it's only by devotional service that someone can make spiritual advancement. So denying a person from devotional service is only a very rare thing in the case of people that are completely hell-bent to destroy Krishna consciousness. Okay? So there are certain cases where you have to ostracize someone because they're too crazy or too determined to destroy Krishna consciousness. But there are other people that are just ignorant. So you can rehabilitate the ignorant people. You can't really rehabilitate an envious person. Envious people have an agenda of destructiveness. So how do you recognize the difference between, let's say, a person who's not so intelligent and a person who's genuinely envious? Good question. A person who's genuinely envious, they'll always find fault in everything. They'll always find some fault. And in that way, they sort of control people by finding fault always. Now, are there mistakes that devotees make? Yes. But how do you correct the mistakes that devotees make? It's not by constant criticism. First of all, it's better to let the temple president or senior devotee deal with devotees who are making mistakes. Why should you get involved in that? But you can bring attention to the senior devotees that so and so is doing this or that, and then they can deal with it. So the way to deal with if someone is misbehaving is to kindly and gently talk to them, try and talk some sense to them. And if you're not able to do that, or if it's too difficult, you try and it doesn't work, then you let more advanced devotees do that. You don't want to get into arguments. Arguments leads to anger, and then when you're in anger, you get angry, you forget all you know about Krishna consciousness, and you get into a fight, and that's a very, very bad position to be in. Okay, so it says here in this verse, the words sprihaniya dhamma indicate that the Lord is the reservoir of all pleasure because he has all the transcendental qualities. Although only some of these are aspired for by persons who hanker after the pleasure of merging in the impersonal Brahman, there are other aspirants or other devotees aspiring who want to associate with the Lord personally as his servants. The Lord is so kind that he gives shelter to everyone, both impersonalists and devotees. He gives shelter to the impersonalists in his impersonal Brahman effulgence, whereas he gives shelter to the devotees in his personal abodes known as the Vaikuntha Lokas. He is especially inclined to his devotion. That means he gives special attention to his devotee. He touches the core of the heart of the devotee simply by smiling and glancing over him. Yeah, a couple times Prabhupada would smile and glance at the devotee. And for the devotee, that was like the best thing that ever happened. One time I was a chauffeur for Prabhupada, and when he got into the car, he looked at me and smiled and tapped me on the shoulder and thanked me for driving him where he had to go. I felt really blessed by that. So that smile from a pure devotee is very, very important in the life of a devotee. That who is able to associate with other genuine devotees and you get that smile of approval. And it says here, Krishna is especially inclined to his devotee. He touches the core of the heart of the devotee simply by smiling and glancing over him. The Lord is always served in the Vaikuntha Loka by many hundreds and thousands of goddesses of fortune, as stated by the Brahma Samhita Lakshmi Sahasra Sutta Samrama Seviman. In this world, in this material world, one is glorified if he is favored even a pinch by the goddess of fortune. So we can simply imagine how glorified is the kingdom of God in the spiritual world, where many hundreds and thousands of goddesses of fortune engaged in the direct service of the Lord. Another feature of this verse is that it openly declares where the Vaikuntha Lokas are situated. They are situated as the summit of all heavenly planets, which are above the sun globe, at the upper limit of the universe, and are known as Satyaloka or Brahmaloka. The spiritual world is situated beyond the universe. Therefore, it is stated here that the spiritual world, Vaikuntha, is the summit of all planetary systems. So we should, after hearing this and having knowledge, aspire to ultimately attain the Vaikuntha planets. Because then we'd become constantly in touch or in relationship with pure devotees and transcendental service to the Lord, which is and that's eternal. It's not a temporary thing. Everything in the material world is temporary, but you get to the spiritual world, it's completely eternal and it's full of bliss. And there are no demons in the spiritual world, but you hear about them, but you never actually see any of them, which is good. So this smiling and glancing, Krishna touches the core of the heart of the devotee simply by smiling and glancing over him. So we should be blessed when advanced devotees smile and glance over us and thank us for the service that we're rendering. That means we're being recognized for sincere service. And that's important. It's good to be recognized, and it's good to, not that we ask to be recognized. There's this saying, you can't force someone to respect you, but people respect you by your unalloyed and unmotivated devotional service. Unmotivated means you have no purpose to attain by serving other than pleasing the Lord. It's not that you want to be glorified or that you want some position or anything like that. Simply serve humbly and sincerely, and gradually you'll see that whatever desires you have to please Krishna will be satisfied. Okay, so I think we'll stop there. Are there any questions, comments, etc.?
On the offenses, yeah, that's what
On the what?
offenses.
Offenses.
Yeah.
Concerning offenses.
Yeah. So as Aditya Prabhu was talking about, but sometimes in the leadership position, the devotees are given leadership position. Let's say you are a head of the pujari, or let's say you are head of the food department, and some of the devotee volunteers who are coming, they are not following the rules, and they have to correct them. Let's say the quality has to be maintained, and when they correct, the other person, the volunteer, may feel little bad. Oh, why I was corrected? I was right, because maybe there are some difference of opinion what the quality really means. In this case, what the person who is in charge of that department should do, because he or she is trying to maintain the quality as per their understanding, but on the other hand, the volunteer, they have their understanding, and that's where these arguments may happen. So what is the right thing and the right balance to do?
Well, before you engage a volunteer, you should first educate them. You bring in someone and immediately you tell you do this, do that, and obviously they're going to make mistakes because they're new. So the best way to do things is first educate a person. Spend time, telling them how to do things. Now, that might be only, 10, 15 minutes or half an hour of education, especially for brand new people. Okay, like if you have to carry something from one place to another and say, hey, come on and help me. You take this box, I'll take that box. Okay, that's one thing. But if any time of there's it's going to be a period of a longer period of service, it's better to instruct the person first how to do that service. Educate. The whole idea of engaging people is to educate them how to be Krishna conscious. And they'll appreciate that. Because what's the worst thing is they come, they agree to cooperate and do service, and then they get scolded for making a mistake. And they'll say, well, you could have educated me, but you just, tell me to come and do this, and then without telling me the right way to do it, and then you scold me, so they feel really offended. So the whole idea of education is speaking gently, explaining the difference between material ways of doing things and spiritual ways of doing things. And that's called real association. When you take the time to educate a person, now you're really associating with them. And they appreciate it. And if every time a volunteer comes and they can learn one more new thing of how to be Krishna conscious, as a takeaway, that means now they're being educated. So we should, as devotees, we should be educators, helping people understand how to properly serve Krishna. We can't expect them to know everything because they're not devotees yet. So we educate them to become devotees. Take the time to talk to them and explain this is the right way, this is the wrong way, and so forth. So you have to realize what your mandate is as a devotee. Your mandate is to educate people how to become devotees. That's what our real mandate is. Of course, there are time sensitive services that we have to do, right? But you can always take a few minutes or even a little bit longer to educate the people that you're asking to volunteer. And they'll appreciate that. They'll appreciate that a lot. And then they realize, well, look, these Hare Krishnas, their whole thing is helping me understand who Krishna is and how to properly serve Krishna. And they'll appreciate that you're taking the time to educate them. And they're learning something all the time. That's the wrong way to do it. It's to educate them before they make the mistake. Right? And if they make a mistake, you have to deal with them with kind words and gentleness. Many times devotees left the movement because they were harshly treated. And that's a big mistake. And Prabhupada was always saying to the devotees, if you look at his letters, always, he was always saying, to please kindly speak to the devotee. Don't shame him or don't scold him, with the caustic words and so forth. So that's an art. It's an art. How to rehabilitate or habilitate someone to be a devotee. It's done with smiles, happiness, and kind words. And then people, accept to be educated at that point. But if it's done, with harsh words, it's destructive. It doesn't work very well. Haribol.
Haribol, Hare Krishna. We should take some of Maharaj's instructions today into sound bites, and we should share it in the groups. Thank you, Maharaj.
I think whole class is with full of instructions.
The whole Bhagavatam is full of instructions.
Hare Krishna. So, is there a question?
One thing, Maharaj, that you were talking about greeting people, like even though they are new
Yeah,
with the Hare Krishna.
yeah.
So we are seeing over a period of time with the food truck, even though they are not aware about Krishna consciousness, but they start following us and they
Saying
greet.
Hare Krishna.
Correct. Before taking the box, most of the people say Hare Krishna.
That's nice, isn't it?
Nice. And other devotees, like not other people, those are in a line or queue, they also observe and slowly they are also
They
grabbing.
come up.
They're getting trained.
Because they are standing,
Hare Krishna, is that what you say? Hare Krishna.
that's what I'm observing like last few years.
Very important.
As far as one question, what is the mode in which we take and accept chastisement?
We should be very happy.
Correct.
Someone loves me so much that they want me to correct.
Haribol.
We shouldn't be angry, we should be happy. I was chastised once or twice by Prabhupada. And I was very happy. Yeah. One time on the morning walk, we would, with Prabhupada, I would try and ask him questions. So one day we're on a walk and I'm trying to think, what can I ask Prabhupada? What can I ask him? So it was, I think it was on Janmashtami or something like that. And I asked the question, I said, Prabhupada, what were you thinking about when you were on Janmashtami? Earlier in your life, and what he said, I asked him some question, and he said, "This is not a good question." They did not ask question like this, because I was acting as if I was a god brother.
Oh,
It's a question like that, a god brother, the god brother question. And I'm not his god brother, I'm a servant, I'm a devotee. So he said, "This is not a good question."
very good.
So he wasn't real mean, but he said, "This is not a good question. Do not ask like this."
Hare Krishna devotees, any other questions or comments? It seemed like Maharaj. So thank you very much.
Haribol.
Haribol. We'll see you again in the evening. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. शिवसादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय.
Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम राम.